Dr. Yogeshwari and I'm here to talk about mucormycosis, the black fungus. It is creating a significant issue today, while COVID-19 was already creating a havoc among the general population and the healthcare professionals. Since the second wave of COVID-19 has hit us, so many cases of mucormycosis can be seen. And in India, it is so much high that it is being called as the mucormycotic and the diabetic capital of the world, which is all the more devastating for us. So let us discuss about this disease a little in detail. So first of all, I would like to tell you that it was present much before COVID-19 came in. It is an opportunistic infection. It is present around us and it was affecting people much before COVID as well. So, like I said, it's an opportunistic infection. It is life-threatening and it is caused by a fungus of Mucorales order, the species being Rhizopus and Mucor. So there are different types of this disease depending upon the part of the body it is involving. It could be the rhinocerebral type, it could be pulmonary, it could be cutaneous, gastrointestinal, or it could be the disseminated type. So today we are going to discuss about rhinocerebral mucormycosis. So the thing is, who could be at risk? It is not just COVID-19 patients, it could be anyone with uncontrolled diabetes, people who are having immunosuppressive diseases like HIV, AIDS, cancer. It could be patients of renal diseases. It could be patients who are having or undergoing a prolonged steroid therapy. All of them could be at risk of this disease. Now, the important thing is how to catch it early. What are the red flags? So I have divided them for you into intraoral, extraoral and general symptoms. So coming to the intraoral, what you can see inside the mouth. It could be mobile teeth. It could be unhealing ulcers on the palate or elsewhere in the mouth, which could lead to halitosis or bad breath. There could be multiple or single draining sinuses in the mouth, that is pus discharge in the mouth. There could be dental pain of unexplained origin. So all of them you could see intraorally. Then coming to the extraoral features, what you can see. You could be seeing discoloration or blackening around the nose, around the eye area. You could see erythema, you could see edema, periorbital edema, swelling around the eye. The patient could complain of pain around the eye. The patient could complain of pain around the nose and this area. He could complain of blurring of his vision. He could complain of double vision. Then you could see ptosis, that is drooping of the eyelid of the patient. After this, the complete facial erythema can also be seen in some patients. In some people, even the swelling of the upper lip is seen. Along with this, you can see a nasal discharge with epistaxis, that is blood, and also it could be purulent, it could be blackish in color. Then coming to the general things which you can see, the patient would be having fever, he would complain of malaise, he would complain of nasal stuffiness. So all of these are your red flags. Then after this, we would come and discuss the radiographic interpretations. So again, I would say that early imaging is very, very important. If we do that, we would catch the disease early. Number one thing is that. Secondly, we can get to know or we can judge the extent of the disease and we can start our aggressive therapy so that we save our patient. So what you can go for is an MRI or a CT-PNS view with contrast. And what you would be seeing in these would be a mucosal thickening, inflammation of the nasal turbinates, a bony erosion, bony sequestration, fluid-filled sinuses. Now, the other lab investigations which you can go for would be deep nasal swabs for KOH and fungal culture. You can go for the CRP level. In normal people, it is basically below 10 mg per liter, and it is going on for COVID patients as well. It is much higher than this, so we can get that done. We can get a negative Galatherman test, we can go for biopsies. Now, after all of this, the basic part is how to prevent it. We always know that prevention is better than cure. And yes, we can prevent this as well if we are careful. So what you can do is, the first thing, you have to monitor and maintain the blood sugar levels of each patient under the normal level. This is crucial. You have to get the patient tested again and again for his blood sugar level. You have to keep on monitoring it. The second thing after this would be your hygiene, which is very, very essential. Example, a patient is admitted and he is undergoing oxygen therapy. So the oxygen delivery system should be clean. If he is taking steam, so the steamer has to be clean. The water he is using in that has to be fresh. He should not be reusing the water. If he is using nebulizers, humidifiers, they should be cleaned from time to time. He should be using sterile water. So all of this is our hygiene protocol. We must maintain it. And lastly, I would say we have to be very, very judicious, very, very careful about steroid usage in these patients. So all of this would help us prevent mucormycosis. Now, if it has happened, how do we treat it? How do we manage it? So I would like to tell you that it is a team approach. For rhinocerebral mucormycosis, I'm discussing this. We need an ENT surgeon, we need a maxillofacial surgeon, we would require an ophthalmologist, we would require a neurosurgeon, we would require an endocrinologist. And after the patient has undergone surgery, a part of his face, his eye, mid-facial region or the palate has been removed, we cannot let that patient be like that. So we have to rehabilitate him. We have to replace it with a prosthetic part. So for that, a maxillofacial prosthodontist would also be required. Now, the treatment would be surgical and medical. The surgical treatment, first of all, I would say surgical debridement is very, very important, as it would aggressively clean our pathologic tissue. It would give us a healthy bed for our antifungal therapy to perfuse into. So that is very important. Then the other surgeries that could be gone for are our endoscopic sinus surgeries, Cardwell-Luke procedure, or the maxillectomy or the orbital exenteration. Sometimes it is so much affected that orbital exenteration class 5 has to be gone for the patient. So they remove the complete eye till the palate area, and the palate is even removed. So the defect is from here till here. So it can be that bad for the patient. So after this, the medical line of treatment would be in two phases, first line and second line. The first line has our amphotericin B therapy, that is our liposomal amphotericin B injections can be given, and the second line is our isavuconazole or posaconazole tablets or injections can be given to the patient. So this is about it, but apart from this, there are so many myths going on. The first is all the people who are getting infected with mucormycosis would die. No, it is not like that. Yes, like I said, it is life-threatening and it progresses very, very aggressively. That is why today we discuss the red flags and how to catch it early and how to treat it and how to prevent it. So if you keep the prevention in mind, if you catch it early, you can save the life of the patient. According to CDC, it has a mortality rate of about 54%. That is different in different types. Like our rhinocerebral type, it is 46% of mortality rate. For the pulmonary, it is 76%. For the disseminated type, that is, it has already affected organ systems and the entire body maybe. So it would be much higher. It can be 96%. The other myth is everybody should start antifungal therapy if he is getting COVID. If he is admitted or not, or if he is in home isolation, he or she should start antifungal therapy. No, please do not do that. Let your physician decide. If he wants to give you a prophylactic dose, depending upon your conditions, he would do that for you. You do not have to stock up on antifungal drugs. Most of them could be hepatotoxic as well. So you could do yourself more harm than good. So keep that in mind. And if you stock that up, you would lead to shortage of drugs for the patients who actually need it. So please do not do that. Let your physician decide what treatment and when he wants to start it. And yes, we can prevent it if we are careful. So the need of the hour is to be very cautious, to be hygienic, to maintain our blood sugar levels. And that is it. We can be safe from this disease. And if we are together, if we are aware, we surely would be safe. So this is about it in this video. Further questions are always welcome. So keep safe, stay at home, keep having healthy food, keep your immunity high, and that is about it. Thank you. Namaste.